analysis answers many questions. It tells us that most of the 49th Ward is eligible for a RIF to preserve affordable rental housing. It tells us how much the eligibility study required by law will probably cost. It tells us where the money might be found to pay for that study. And it tells us what the best locations for the RIF districts are in the 49th Ward. It puts to rest many questions and gives us a path forward. If you want to read the analysis, you can find it at a Just Harvest website, which is printed on your program. Now let me make this personal. During the last condo conversion boom, I was evicted twice. 2 times my rental building was sold for condos, and 2 times my young son and I were out on the street. I know that there are many people in this room today who have had the same experience. That's why we came up with the idea of the RIF in the first place. The RIF would help us to lock in rents so we don't have to move anymore, because if a developer buys our building to convert it into condos. We invited all of the candidates for the aldermen in the 49th Ward to be with us here today. I regret to report to you that our current alderman, Joe Moore, refused our invitation
That's
to
incorrect.
be here today.
He was locked out of the meeting.
We are extremely disappointed that he has not moved the RIF forward since he first committed to do so in the spring of 2009, well over a year ago. We have given him every opportunity, and on numerous occasions, we have tried to convince him to move forward, and he still has not done so. He apparently does not share our feeling of urgency about the RIF. We can only assume that other interests who oppose the RIF are more important to him than saving affordable rental units in the 49th Ward. But I am very pleased to report that Brian White, candidate for alderman in the 49th Ward, is with us here today. Brian, please come forward. Brian, will you secure the necessary money to complete the eligibility study and introduce an ordinance creating the RIF in the area marked by A on the map before June 1st, 2012? You have 4 minutes to speak.
Yes. I'm technologically challenged. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today, and for all the kind words about the Rental Improvement Fund and the work that I did with so many other people to try to bring us to this point. I have to say, it is, in my mind, unfortunate that we're here today having this conversation about the Rental Improvement Fund in the middle of an aldermanic election. The efforts that have been taken by groups like Lakeside and Just Harvest and Northside Power and all of our allies to do the thinking, the research, the heavy lifting, the outreach, the analysis. The idea here is to create a rental improvement fund that serves the community, and that starts with the community and ends with the community. And the fact that it has become so politicized, given how much the need is, how well demonstrated the need is just so unfortunate to me. But that is how it is here. So let me just tell you a little bit, with the time that I have, about my commitment. As I said, my name is Brian White. I'm a candidate for alderman. I've been in Rogers Park for 18 years. I've lived and worked here the last 10 years on the housing problems facing people in our community. We have talked about and paid lip service to a balanced development strategy, but we've never really had one. And instead, what we have had is condo conversions and poorly run buildings and people being pushed out of their housing and overly politicized conversations that don't get us anywhere and don't get us to where we need to be. The 2010 census is going to show us that Rogers Park has lost almost 20% of its African American population and 20% of its Hispanic population in the last decade. How much longer do we need to wait to stand up and fight for our own community and do something to change the trends that have been going on for the last 10 years? In our mind, the Rental Improvement Fund represents a serious and fair trade-off between renters and landlords, and it advances benefits for the entire community. Despite the changes that have happened here, our community is still about 65–70% rental. So the Rental Improvement Fund, despite what people might say about it being a giveaway to low-income people or to some special interest group, this is a rental community. It benefits 65 or 75% of the people in our community. The Rental Improvement Fund creates trade-offs. It recycles property taxes back into property improvements. Okay? By recycling the funds back into our community, we make our buildings stronger, more attractive, and more valuable. That benefits everybody by increasing the property tax bases and by increasing the value of property in our community. The Rental Improvement Fund promotes a mixed income strategy. It doesn't set aside rents on all the units, it sets aside the rents on some of the units. So you have a truly mixed income, diverse building. There's no more segregating poor people, low-income people into segregated housing. It's mixed income. That's the future. We should be there today. The question of where we are today comes down to the basic question of how we're going to get from a conversation about this to actually making it happen. And the crux of it is doing the eligibility study that is required to move this thing forward. Now, there's been a letter circulated talking about a $450,000 cost for a study. Let me just give you by comparison. First of all, that is a way inflated number. But first of all, to give you a comparison, right now we're spending $89,000 in automatic menu money to subsidize free parking at Loyola Park. $267,000 of your taxpayer dollars to give 123 free parking spaces at the beach. I think we should be spending some of that money on helping preserve affordable rental housing in our community. Time is up, so I'll just close by saying, if you want to be the change you seek in the world, get involved and get active. The election's coming up in 5 weeks, and we have two choices. There's two candidates on the ballot. There's one who's going to fight for the RIF, who's going to make the study happen, who's going to push us forward in a fair and open way, and there's someone else who's not standing here with you today. Thank you very much.
The ushers will pass among you to collect your cards and your donations